I want to first apologize. These things never work out exactly the way you want, and you guys may have questions at the end of this, so I will definitely stay longer if need be to make sure that you answer any questions. First off, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jamal Felton. I work at Rancho Bernardo High School within the Power Unified School District, but I'm also a CTE instructor, and that just basically means that I run a couple of classes that are considered career technical education. One of those is a work experience class. The other one is a career readiness class, and I also have an internship class. So obviously, when we talk about work-based learning and internships, that's part of the reason why I'm here. We have some panelists up here, one a business owner. I will let each one of these speakers introduce themselves. But we have 3 students and 1 business owner, so they will be talking to you. Up here, I know it's a little bit hard to see. I just want to give you an idea of what I have up there. This is a resource page. Does anybody, can I get short hands in here if you're familiar with Canvas or MyConnect? Okay, your students, their classes are all run through there. At Rancho Bernardo High School right now, all the students have access to this page. This page is a resource page built around internships and or work-based learning. If your student is not a Rancho Bernardo High School student, do not worry. This wasn't made for RB. I just happened to work there, and I just added that to their resource. But everyone in the district will have, this was built this one to make sure that everybody has access to it. It's not a class, it's just a resource page for your students as they're starting to look at researching what opportunities are out there. Because, sometimes students go into their teacher or counselor's office and say, hey, I want an internship. And that's not what counselors necessarily do. There's not an infrastructure around work-based learning and internships that's readily available for high school students. This is the direction we're going to make it simpler for students to find research, connect with, and know the proper channels. So just I'll talk a little bit more about this later on, but I wanted to make sure that I address that. So without further ado, I will start off with our first speaker, Ms. Uma, and she will introduce herself and talk about her business, but also her experience as a business owner utilizing students in internships.
Hello everyone, hope it's not a long night for all. So my name is Uma Sam and I am a franchise owner. I own a coding franchise called Code Ninjas. We teach young kids ages 7 to 14 coding, STEM-related activities and robotics. And we are very proud to say that we have 17 amazing instructors who we call as senseis, and they come from various high schools around Rancho Bernardo location. We have some from Del Norte High School and stuff like that. As far as internship goes, we offer a non-paid and a paid internship for potential candidates. We train them on the job. We train them on 5 different programming language, STEM, robotics, and how to teach them to young kids. In addition to that, if it's a non-paid internship, we award them the hours. We give them a certificate at the end of the training. If they are a very potential candidate or a great fit for the job, we give them we hire them for a paid internship where all their training hours will be compensated and they become our employee and they stay with us until they move on to college and stuff like that. The great benefit of working at Code Ninjas is we are the first franchise to start up on West Coast, and currently Code Ninjas Rancho Bernardo is one of the leading franchise with the most number of graduate young ninjas in the program. So they'll hold the title, when they're writing it in the resume, they can mention that. In addition to that, the job won't just be stipulated to teaching kids. We train them in different aspects. So for example, if there's marketing, we let them do marketing for a franchise for a week. If there's going to be administration, like running a very big franchise like Code Ninja, we let them and get them trained on running administration. And the most ideal thing, when they're moving on to college, they're going to be meeting up with a lot of professors, a lot of new friends and stuff like that. So we're going to train them on how to interact, how to showcase yourself, your skills, and what sort of experience you post at Ninjas, how are you going to portray that up in a resume or market that. So we have that, and not only that, we kind of give a lot of glowing recommendations. So if there's anything in particular, for example, if your child is really good with gaming and they are like always gaming, like hours and hours, we ask them to train that and teach that in a way where they can inspire young kids into gaming, but at the same time show the background behind it, like coding as well behind it. And we kind of like catch all these like key points for your child. Like, what are they special about? And what do they excel in? And trying to train them more on it. So when they get into kind of like, recommendation letter from us, we kind of like mention that in the letter. And also we have great referral for any job scope for the future. If they have an opportunity outside of Code Ninjas, they can use us as a great reference as well. So how do internship getting students like your child into Code Ninjas benefiting us is because they are young minds. It's just that they have so many ideas, so many visions, and they're very quick learners too. So if you kind of like put them in the right job role and train them well on it, they can shine like anything. I've got a lot of senseis who happen with us for like 2 or 3 years before they move on to college, and they keep coming back to us during summer. They run the summer camp programs with us and all that. The reason is that we are a new age work environment. We don't do anything mundane, like doing the same old format or like letting you do the job without getting you trained about that. We instead sit, have a group discussion. We kind of listen to feedback that your child has or a student has, and we try to incorporate that. And then we make it like a fun learning space for young students. So for example, if in case the student is a Minecraft fan or a Roblox fan, we ask them to share that off to other ninjas who are coming there for coding, and that makes them so excited because they look at them like a peer and someone who they can go to for guidance, and they kind of like senseis love that. When they have young kids who are like always around them, asking them to share things, getting excited when they do that, and giving them high five and all that. Young interns, they enjoy that, that kind of worship and kind of attraction from kids. So they try to like do amazing things and all that. Not only that, we try to ask them to contribute new age ideas to the workspace. So if there's something cool like in a website that they can build or an app that they have come up with, we try to ask them to teach young kids for that. We have workshops. We have a lot of young parents too in the program who run their own companies. We in fact had a president of a gaming company who hired some of our interns for future job positions and all that. So the avenue of opportunities is limitless working at Code Ninjas. In case if anyone has any question or interested, I can ask you to refer to Code Ninjas Rancho Bernardo Facebook page. There you can see all our senseis, the achievements, and all the workshops they have done and everything. We team up with a lot of colleges like San Diego, SDSU, and all the other colleges, and we do workshop with them, and all this come under their resume that they've done this many programs, this much of experience they have, and we also have supercomputers as well at UCSD, so you can kind of like, they take referral from us, sensei information from us, and they get benefit of future positions. So thank you so much for your time. If there's any question, feel free to approach me.
So I always like, we like the business owner to go first, just to give you an idea. And this is one of the work-based learning opportunities, internships, but community partners that we've already built. There are others that are currently, we're trying to build more. So it's not just not just for companies like Code Ninjas, but this is a company we've worked with before. We're branching out into other things. Also some other vocational, how do I put this, pathways. So I want to make sure we have one business owner up here, but we are starting to branch out as a district to try to build more community partners. If any of you in this audience have run your own companies or have your own businesses and you're interested in that, please come up to us, let us know. We'd love to build that relationship further. One of the big things is as I let a few of these students come in and talk about their experience, and they have all done different things. I want you to think about just in the last college cycle, college acceptances have changed. How a lot of us who grew up when we went to 4 year, you've seen some of the seniors who graduated last year, things have changed. Internships and work-based learning are going to be factored more into that student experience and that holistic view that these schools have. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Isabel, who is a former student who's now at San Diego State, and I'll let her talk about her internship experience.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Isabel Adamos, and I interned for Power Unify. I worked in Studio 701. And basically what that is, it's like a broadcast journalism / film production type internship where we cover stories across the Power Unified School District. I don't know if anyone here has seen like Bronco TV for Brett Bernardo, or like maybe your high school's version of like a newscast. But this is more like district-wide. And being a part of this internship for experiencing that has honed like my technical ability in editing and filmmaking, and it's even taken me far into my own career outside of graduating. I graduated in 2020, and unfortunately, like the internship was cut short because we had to shift to like an online space. But even then, that taught me and the other interns how to be flexible, and how to like gather footage and how to communicate like professionally within like a web space. And from there, I transferred I went to community college. I got 2 associate's degrees from San Diego City College, one in film production and another in language arts and humanities. And from there, I applied to 8 schools, made it into 7. I applied to 4 UCs, UCI, UCSC, Berkeley, and UCLA. I got waitlisted at UCLA. And then for the CSUs, I applied to SDSU, which is where I go now, Long Beach, San Francisco, and then I think Northridge. But within my own career, I began working with San Diego State as their videographer for associated students. So I make like the videos in their email blasts or for their social media. And then within my own like personal career with like filmmaking, my short films have been like screened internationally, like with Mixed TV. I've gotten awards from local film festivals and whatnot. That's all because of being a part of this internship and being privy to like the resources that they offer through it. Yeah.
So I'm going to have our next speaker come up, and that would be Casey Park. Again, I just want to make sure you know that most of the students that we have up here happen to have a Rancho Bernardo background, but it just kind of happened. We have students all across the district that are involved in internships. So I just want to make sure that you know it just happened that way. But Casey, why don't you come up and share your experience?
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm a junior. So I did 2 internships. The first one I did was with Res Resale. Res Resale is like Goodwill, so they do like, it's not nonprofit, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah. So basically I did their social media for them. I basically just like made TikToks and like videos. It was fun, it was really cool, and it gave me an opportunity to talk to a lot of people and just like get to know people in the area. So that was really cool. I guess it kind of helped me also with another internship that I did. It was more of like what he does with workplace, like career CTE stuff. So I did a summer workshop for film, just like she did. Basically with like students from in digital media and Rancho Bernardo High School. We were like a group of students, and we worked with like professional like directors, audio people, stuff like that. And we made a movie, and we showed it in Angelica. So it really helped me like see what it was like to be like on a real set and see what it'd be like in the future working in film. And it was really cool because you got a lot of experience working with people and knowing if you actually want to do that in the future.
And we have one more student, Prathiba. She's going to come up and talk to you about her experience, and she's also been in two internships, so I'll let her talk a little bit about that.
Hi everyone, I'm Prathiba. I'm a senior at RB High, and I'm going to talk about the internship I do currently, which is for Compass, a real estate brokerage. And I do a lot of the marketing and social media managing part of it. So I've always been interested in business and economics, so I kind of just went along with this one that matched up my interest a lot. And I do a lot of scheduling posts and content planning, which I work for Miss Wendy Carter, and she helps me with that. But making sure the writing and the graphics are very easy to understand and engaging for the audience, learning algorithms of what times and dates to post for like maximize audience engagement. So that's a lot of what I do. And then I also help her with just other paperwork and learning different softwares like Excel and then different databases that businesses use. So I get to learn the behind the scenes like complexities of business that I may or may not have learned in a school setting, reading textbooks and taking notes. So having that hands-on learning experience was super insightful to me. And then just along with the learning, I get to learn other like soft skills and professional work etiquette, such as like dressing a bit more formally or being more punctual, getting tasks done in a timely manner. So having those skills that I can apply to when I go off to college and then independently work in the corporate field is very important and beneficial. So having that hands-on learning opportunity is definitely different than in a school setting, which I think is very valuable and beneficial in the future.
So, I'm extremely impressed with our students and how they articulate themselves and discuss their experience. So, as we talk about internships and we talk about why they're important and how your students can get involved in those, I talked a little bit about this page that you all have access to that will get linked to our district website as well. But your students will be enrolled soon. If you're a non-RB student, soon, very soon, they will get access to this, and it will come through Canvas. Here's what I want you to know. If it works different depending on what school you're at. For instance, I work at Rancho Granado. Rancho Granado, Westview, and Poway do not have a dedicated internship class, right? So I teach the PVC, Poway virtual course. So there's an option for you if your school doesn't have an internship class. I just want to make sure you know that. I'm the contact for those high schools. If you are at Mount Carmel or Del Norte, then there are two dedicated teachers, Gretchen Tribal at Mount Carmel and Chris Paluta, who I do a lot of collaborating with. She's at Del Norte. What does that mean for you? That means that those contacts are listed on this resource page. Their emails are linked. You can always reach out and talk to them. If those other two, Gretchen and Chris, you can find them on campus if your student goes to Mount Carmel or Del Norte. If you're Poway or Westview, obviously I'm not on those campuses, but my email and my phone number is listed there, my work number. So there is a contact no matter what school you go to. Now, let's talk a little bit about how, what does this page offer you? There are a couple of things. The city of San Diego, the mayor has dedicated about $18 to $20 million towards student internships. And those student internships, which didn't exist before, those happen throughout all the industry sectors that we have. So when you think city government, you're thinking politics. That's not what this is about. This is digital media, construction management, all kinds of different things. So I have that resource linked here for students to go up, look at, and research. There's also a research page that I like, that I tell students about. To go in, they can look. There's not just in-person ones, but also remote opportunities. So we put this out here just so that you know if you or your student is looking for something, here's a place to start. Another thing I want to make sure that you all know, there's different ways to go about internships. Number one, most people don't know that students who have an internship have the opportunity to get credit for the time, and that's elective credit towards graduation that they can use. It'd be 5 credits, either a quarter or a trimester if you're a trimester school. And sorry, let me go back on that. The PVC course is actually, they're all on trimester, so I shouldn't say quarter. It's a trimester. It's 5 credits for that. And they can take that, it's repeatable up to 10, so they can take it twice. If that makes sense. You do not have to. Some students think, I don't want the class, I just want an internship. But most business owners want, and Uma can speak even more so to this, a lot of business owners want that connection with the school or school district because there's some accountability. There's an accountability piece for them, someone to go to if they're maybe having problems communicating with the student, or for the student, so that they have someone to go to if they're having an issue with, communicating with maybe the business owner. Is what I'm saying making sense here? So just so you guys know, there are if it's an unpaid internship, and the student makes sure to let us know, we assume as the district liability for that internship, so that the business owner doesn't have it. Paid internships are different, right? But there's paperwork available, all of which you can find on this research page. There's a six step, and I can't scroll down right now, but there's a 6-step process, and anywhere you are in the process, if you're just saying, Coach, I just need to research it, you can go click on the research part, and that's all you need. Or you can follow the entire flow chart through the 6-step process and find out more information. Again, if you guys have questions, my email's there. I'm available to answer questions, but I would encourage you, because if you are a student at Mount Carmel Del Norte, I would encourage you to contact those teachers at those sites, just because I want to make sure we're doing what's right by each school site. If that makes sense. And I guess finally, I'll start talking here in a second and let you ask questions. I think the biggest thing you heard here is that internships, I think, especially in this COVID age that we're coming out of, they provide an opportunity for students to really learn to articulate themselves within the business space. All of these students went through a period of having to be at home for a year, for some people more than a year. And so there were some things lost, some opportunities lost for them. And I think not just our entire state and the country, we're moving more in this emphasis for work-based learning. It doesn't always have to be, by the way, an internship that you're doing. If your student doesn't have the time, I always say work-based learning. That could be a job shadow, right? That could be a job shadow. That could be business owner mentoring. So those are things to talk about. I just want to put those all out there. And then at this point now, I will just open it up if you guys have questions.
So during the school year, if it's an elective, is it after school internship or during the school day? How does the logistics work?
So that's a great question, and I'll let any of them talk about this, but I can answer that partly. So an internship, a lot of our students have what they call off-roll, 1 period a day. Like they have a period where they don't have a class, right? You guys are familiar with that, as all of our schools are on non-traditional schedules. But it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of that is set up with the business owner. If, let's say, you're in a quarter school and you have 4 classes, that doesn't mean you can't have an internship. It just means it depends on the need from the business owner. If they need somebody and they don't need them until, well, the schedule's changed now, but they don't need them until 5 o'clock, let's say. It's a 5 to 7 or 5 to 8 o'clock type deal, then that's set up with them. One thing I can say is these 2 students, one of the summer internship they did, I was the contact with that business owner. So really what happens is I go in, I put out the information, they sign up to go to the information meeting, they meet with me, the business owner, and then there's a conversation about how things work. Because most of the time the business owners, they have a need, they want them to be there, they'll make it work, so they'll find a way to make that work. Does that make sense? That's your question? Okay. Yes.
And then as far as with Code Ninjas go, we know that all of them are students. They have a lot of extracurricular activities, exams that they have to prep up for and all that. So we are very flexible with our scheduling. So we go with the days that they are available, and it's always going to be after school, and the hours will be based off of what their availability is, because we have a team of like 19 employees, so we can kind of like take turns and cover for them if they need to take a break to study or do something.
Ready? Go ahead. So that's a great question. And if you guys didn't hear in the back, she asked about other minimum hours. So you're never going to have an internship. There are certain laws around students, how many hours they can work. And those are already on the books. So students, for instance, cannot work an 8-hour day on a school night. You know what I mean? That's something that they cannot do. So internships would fall under the same working hours that a regular job would, but most internships they're not working as long as some of the jobs that they might have at, let's say, In-N-Out, or I'm just picking random places. A lot of times, and like I said, it's flexible. She's talked about working, she works with students. Most of my students are on, they may work 2 to 3 hours in a given day, a couple of times a week, but it varies. Does that make sense?
It does, but then how do you define the internship? Like at the end of it, do you expect them to be at least like within 6 months or a year? Do you expect certain number of hours? Like I understand on a daily basis we can be flexible, but if I'm going to go to teacher, what would be her expectation? Like, can't have a student come for just 1 or 2 hours in 3 weeks. I'm not sure.
So that depends on the school district, how many credit hours they can award, working for us and all that. And then we will try to give a schedule out, saying, okay, these are the days you're available, these are the hours you're going to be working, and this is the number of hours you're accumulating. But whatever hours they're going to be working with us, we'll be giving them a letter right after saying that this is the hours that they're working.
That's the credit accumulation.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
And just to elaborate, and I'll get to your question in a second, just to elaborate on that. There's typically a minimum amount of hours for a student who's getting credit. So it's very different for a student who's just getting an internship. There's a lot more flexibility there. If you're getting credit, because that's technically a class, so there is a minimum, and typically, your students working, it really depends. It's about 5 hours a week, whereas working, I should say that's not the minimum, but working wise, you have to work 20 hours a week for a job. So you don't have to do as much for an internship. The threshold is much lower. It is 5 hours a week, but that doesn't mean that every week they have to be working 5 hours. In general, yeah. Does that make sense? Question, and then
Yes, please.
it's yours.
So I have a senior who's graduating June next year. I think he's pretty much done with the electives. So is an internship opportunity too late for him? Can he still apply for internship?
You're saying you have a current junior?
Senior.
Senior. So
Is it too late?
is it too late? I don't think it's ever too late. It really just depends on what is available. So again, that would be in let's say your student would be in that internship research part of the process, right? Like when they're looking for what's available. So they would contact whoever at their school. They could also contact me and see if I know of any internship opportunities. And if there are internship opportunities, then we would just try to connect them. As long as they're a student in Power Unified, someone will work with them to try to connect them. Does that answer the question?
Great. Thank you. Yes.
And then maybe you had a question?
I think I heard you say that Westview students don't have access to that Canvas page yet, but it's coming.
Yes.
Do you know when that's coming?
So I can't specifically say the day, but I'm definitely working. I'm working with all the schools to make sure they now have access to it. It's just a matter of enrolling all the students in it. But if a student wants to go in, like log into Canvas and look it up, they can find it. It's a public page. All of the high schools right now have a flyer with a QR code on it. So have them walk in at Westview, I used to work there, Wolverine Center. Have them walk into there, talk to one of their counselors about that. The Sun Center at Mount Carmel, Taney Center at Poway, so on and so forth. Was there another question? I think I saw. Yes.
If we were to have an internship that we want to put our child in, but it's not tied to your program yet, we wanted to get accredited, we could bring that opportunity to you and get signed on with the internship.
So yes, did you guys all hear that question? So if there is an internship opportunity that's not, let's say, offered or promoted some way through the district, can you bring that to someone in the district and have that put together? Yes. The answer is definitively yes. You need to contact. I'm putting myself out there. I am not the internship guru, but I'm very passionate about it, and so I'm always wanting to have that conversation. But there are people, Brian, and I'm forgetting his last name right now, with our district who handles those things. Joe Austin, Glenn McConville. Those are people at the CTE office, and again, CTE stands for Career Technical Education. They are the people who can authorize those things. I can also help out with that. So yes. Any other questions?
I just didn't get your name and email easily from that webpage.
You didn't get it easily. It's on when you go to. Let me see here. So when you go to the internship research. See the contacts. So there's a contacts. When she was asking, when she couldn't find my email, there's a contacts within the flowchart. It might be, I think it's step 2. Step 2, there's a contacts list. Click on that, type a link. My contact information is there. Gretchen Tribal from Mount Carmel and Chris Buddha from Del Norte High School. Their information is there.
You're
I'm Jamal Felton. If your student already knows me, they say Coach Jamal, because that's what I go by at my school. That's the same person. So, well, I appreciate, if there are no other questions.
Can I talk about something?
Yes, you can, absolutely. Come on up, Casey.
So I don't think this was talked about, but since I did digital media and it's a CTE class, you can actually get like Palomar credits for it. So I'm not sure how that works, but one time we had like a counselor come in and she talked to us about, since we did CTE classes, you can also transfer that as Palomar. So there's other like CTE classes at school. So like I did into the business one. I'm not quite sure if you can transfer credits like that since that's an elective. But I mean, digital media is also elective too. But there are some classes that you can transfer credits from your high school to your community college credits. Just want to talk about that.
I could add to that as a community college graduate. So with like CTE credit, AP, and like dual enrollment, I came into community with 24 units like already done. And that's kind of like one whole school year. So yeah, that's just something to consider.
Again, super impressed with our students. One thing I want to add to that is Casey mentioned it, and I'm glad she brought that up. That college credit piece, she wasn't sure how that happens. I'm going to tell you how your students can take advantage of that. That's a conversation with their counselor. So within their CTE pathway or classes that they take, they should have a conversation. They should initiate a conversation with their counselor to see if the classes they take, they can get college credit for. Every high school has a CTE dedicated counselor, just so you know that. And it doesn't have to be a CTE counselor you talk to. They're just the most fluent in that, but I would just encourage your students to talk to their counselor when they're doing their transcript evaluations, things of that nature. So are there any other questions that came up for the things that we talked about? Yes.
It might be a creation from lack of my understanding. So an internship can it be like through the summer, like just summer program as an internship, or does it have to be during school year and showing like a quarter, or one quarter is good enough, or is it? My son is in rescue, so we have sort of systems.
Yes, and I'm at Rentrepreneur happens to be a core system too.
Oh,
But what I said earlier and I tried to correct is that all the internships for credit are done on a trimester basis. That even if your students at a core school, they're going to be their internship for credit is on a trimester, which is, if I'm not mistaken, a 12-week grading period. Right? So just so you know that, and the reason why that works is Mount Carmel is a trimester school. Del Norte is a trimester school. The other schools, since they have to take a PVC, poly virtual course, all PVC classes are on a trimester basis. That's why they're all on trimester. To your first question about whether that happens, if it just happens during the school year, actually, it doesn't. You can do that actually in the summer. Both of these two young ladies did summer internships. I don't think they did it for credit, but they did do internships. The choice of getting credit or not is up to them. And so if they want to do it for credit, they can in the summer. I know because I'm the one who taught that this past summer. So it is available.
so it's the credit like added to GPA, and that's what we connect like this for.
Great question. Did you guys hear that? Is the credit added to the GPA? So there's flexibility there too. So if, let's say the student, especially our AP students, they're looking at something saying, I don't want this class affecting my GPA or weighing it down, right? So what they need to do within the first, don't quote me on this, but I think it's within the first week or so of class, they need to designate that they want to take the class for pass-fail. That way they get the credit for graduation, but it doesn't affect their GPA. Does that make sense? Shows on the transcript that they took it. It still counts within every student needs at least a minimum of about 80 credits of elective credit to graduate. So it satisfies that requirement. It's 5 credits out of there, or 10 if they took it twice. But it won't, if your student said, I want to take this pass fail, they would get a P on their transcript. And all that would affect is credits, would not affect it would not weigh down their GPA. Did I answer that? That makes sense? Okay. Does anybody else have a question? Appreciate that. I know you have any question. I think I'm going to answer that question offline. I want to thank you all for coming, being dedicated to your students. And if we could give our panelists here just a last round of applause, I would appreciate it.